Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Jorien White, President of the USM Board, Mrs. Valerie Gietersen Pantaflet, incoming President of the USM, Dr. Carmona Baez, USM Dean of Academics, Dr. Rolinda Carter. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Rolika Roach of the Department of Communication, and on behalf of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, I welcome you to today's press conference on the introduction of the incoming President of the USM Board and the Dean of Academics. For more on this subject, I invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Jorien White, to address you. Minister White.
Good morning. And thank you, Mrs. Rolika Roach. Isn't it wonderful that we're introducing this subject indeed here this morning during a press conference, especially for USM. A special welcome, therefore, on behalf of government to the President of the Board, Mrs. Valerie Gietersen Pantaflet, and also a very special welcome to St. Martin, and sometimes it's welcome back to St. Martin, for Dr. Antonio Camara and Dr. Rolinda Carter. Welcome back. Isn't it a wonderful occasion? And therefore, good morning to the members of the press this morning. I have a special, of course, thank you and appreciation that also the Secretary General have been able to join us for this press conference, which has been a little bit of a last-minute type of arrangement that we made. So we are very happy that Dcomm have been able to facilitate us as well. But it is indeed a joyous occasion. And we were informed yesterday that indeed this is a hot and therefore fresh from the press, as we say, with an important announcement. Because we all know, of course, that USM is a very important provider of tertiary education on St. Martin. And we also know that we all went through enormous challenges throughout 2017 and also budgetary challenges, which have also contributed to the loss of key staff of USM in 2017. Key staff, I would say, if we want to indeed value the position of USM as a tertiary institute for the scientific and academic value of such an important organization. And if you indeed lose the president and the dean, I can imagine that the board and the remaining staff must have felt very challenged throughout the last couple of months. We partnered actively as government of St. Martin. We've ensured that indeed we were able to keep the USM open, and we indeed came to conclusions and arrangements via the Memorandum of Understanding of the manner that we would work hand in hand with each other to indeed ensure that USM is able to get back on its feet even better, as we say, with the Build Back Better emphasis. And I think that is definitely the contribution that the government wants to make. If we bring it into a broader context, we know that we are doing our utmost to have the legislation on higher education established and indeed debated as a very important foundation to recognize as a country where we bring this institution moving forward. And therefore on the USM side, Mrs. Gietersen, indeed, we have emphasized, and you have emphasized, the importance to have an active recruitment drive to ensure that we have the president and dean back. And we do. And where we had the opportunity, Dr. Camara, to already have our opportunity yesterday afternoon to have a little chat for 15 minutes during a meet and greet. Madam President, you also mentioned that you indeed were in a very, very, very advanced state to also have the contract signed with our local Mrs. Dr. Rolinda Carter. And that makes us double pride. We are in the presence of Caribbean partners, and I'm sure that Dr. Antonio Carmona Baez. So indeed, I hope I'm able to continue to practice, and then I will get it perfect, right? So we are happy that indeed you were able to also conclude the contract with the dean, and I'm sure that together with our share of what we're doing to further establish and strengthen higher education on St. Martin, USM, the University of St. Martin, is doing the same with indeed these critical positions to drive higher education forward. Everybody that knows me, has listened to me in the press maybe throughout the last couple of months, have seen me and encourage indeed the message of higher education. I'm a firm believer of education on St. Martin, especially of the position of higher education, because I believe it is a social and economic driver to success and continued success to our nation. So, yeah, I think I've said enough for now, and would like to give it back to Mrs. Roach, as she will introduce everybody else further. And I am happy, therefore, to say that the key positions are filled, and once more also say welcome and congratulations to the entire board, management, and staff of USM, and also the great success and high expectations that we have to both the President and the Dean. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister White, for your opening remarks. I now invite Mrs. Valerie Gietersen-Panteflet to address you.
Pleasant good morning, and thank you, Ms. Roach. Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports Affairs, Honorable Secretary General of Education, Sharmina Powell, and press. Pleasant good morning, and for me, on behalf of the board of the University of St. Martin, as well as management staff, and we say the entire family of the University of St. Martin, I am not only proud, but so elated this morning. I don't know if because we are the only one with a press briefing this morning that it's so special, but really I'm so proud to know that on behalf of the entire USM family, that we can introduce to you this morning, Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Sports and Youth Affairs, our two key persons for the University of St. Martin in the person of Dr. Kamona, as well as Dean of Academics, Dr. Rolinda Carter. At this moment, I know they will be able to share, and I know the press probably after will not in this setting, but after we'll have the opportunity to know both Dean and President, because at this moment I think we have made a very good choice. I must say, Dr. Kamona, before even having the ad placed in the newspaper for a dean or a president, he had already committed himself to the island of St. Martin after the devastation of Hurricane Irma. And at that moment, we said, wow, here we have someone who understands the suffering, not only of the university, but of the island as well, when he offered to give his full support with a reconstruction, rebuilding, and at this moment, we are so happy to know that we have gotten him as the president of the University of St. Martin. For Dr. Rolinda Carter, she was the keynote speaker of the 2017 commencement, and at that commencement, she said, I will be coming back to St. Martin to contribute. Never did we thought it would have been in such a short span of time, and for that reason, we are so happy to know that Dr. Rolinda Carter, not only as an alumni of USM, but also to see that the challenges that we are faced with now, she was on top of that, and she still commit herself to be back home. And for that, Minister, we thank you so much, because the Ministry of Education tirelessly, after signing that MOU, was constantly in communication with us, and we said our key persons, which is the president and the dean of academics, we want to have them on board so that we can live up to the obligation that is there for USM. At this moment, I'm confident and convinced that we will be able to meet the obligations that are set in that MOU, and we will be able to take USM to the next level. Now that the law of higher education is also a consultation document, knowing the timeline that is set, I must say Dr. Carmona, who mastered 5 languages, already started reading the document. So when it comes to the English, the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, whatever, we have them in-house now. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Carmona Baez, you can go ahead and give your opening statement.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Valerie Gittersen Pantoflet. Thank you, ministers, the General Secretary of Education. It is an honor and a pleasure to come to the country, St. Martin, to accompany the country in its process of reconstruction, and in particular to assist in the rebuilding and the fortifying of possibly St. Martin's most important institution as far as socio-economic development and the future of the people of St. Martin. Coming from Puerto Rico, having completed my studies and having served institutions within the Kingdom of the Netherlands and my homeland, Puerto Rico, particularly at the Klingendahl Institute for International Relations, at the University of Amsterdam, at the University of Puerto Rico. Once again, it's an honor to come back to the Caribbean and to serve the people through serving and assisting the University of St. Martin. I would also like to say lead, but for me it is in cooperation with a team, with a wonderful team, the board of directors, and I'm very happy to reiterate that this morning we have finalized the contract for our Dean of Academics, who is a person who's a very strong candidate, has a strong scientific background. Together, this team will work closely with the Ministry of Education and other sectors of the country, St. Martin, to bring this country forward. I am a person who believes in higher education and public higher education. I believe that the University of St. Martin is key to reconstruction, to rebuilding better and sustainably in connection with our neighboring islands. I received my Bachelor of Arts degree from Middlebury College, Vermont in the United States. Went on later to study international relations at the University of Amsterdam, where I've completed my MA and continued to do research in international relations and international political economy at the University of Amsterdam. Thereafter, I've been involved in teaching and research, once again at the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras campus, where I served both the Department of Political Science and General Studies, and the Faculty of General Studies. At the University of Amsterdam, I lectured in development studies with an emphasis in Latin America and the Caribbean. And I continue to do research in the areas of public policy with a certain focus now on sustainable development for small islands. That's my background, and it's all for the service of USM and the people of St. Martin.
Thank you, Dr. Carmona Baez. I now invite Dr. Rolinda Carter to give her opening remarks.
Thank you. Good morning to the Minister, Honorable Minister, and Honorable SG, and all those who are present, including the press. I am Dr. Rolinda Carter, and I'm extremely grateful and happy to be back on the island and contribute to the University of St. Martin in a very tangible way. USM has played a very fundamental role in where I am today because that's where I started my degree. And I've always had a love to see USM and its program improve, but also expand to different areas. And so I look forward to working with the team and the board in order to progress USM and move it forward within St. Martin. Yeah, so I started with my associate's degree at USM and then moved on to my bachelor's degree in biochemistry and molecular biology, where I was also responsible for teaching various undergraduate courses in that field. And then I moved on to my doctorate in pathology and laboratory medicine, where my research really focused on finding new ways to treat and prevent blood clots, which are extremely dangerous in the with strokes and heart attacks. And so I've always had a love for blood and always have a love for science, and I hope to make that a part of my journey at USM as well, eventually. Thank you.
I'm delighted. We once more say welcome, and we once more say much success. Mrs. Gitterson Panterflent, I'm sure that you're going to have rich conversations with these two heavyweights and professionals in your midst. We will continue indeed to ensure that we partner with each other. We have still indeed some critical conversations to engage in, such as indeed the establishment of the budget and the strategic planning of USM in the weeks ahead. And then not even to speak about indeed the legislation, as that is already in consultation. So with that, I would like to say thank you to Dcomm for all the preparations made. Thank you, Giselle York, for the last minute preparations. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I wish everybody on St. Martin a pleasant day, and thank you.
Thank you, Minister Weitzer, for your closing remarks. This brings us to the end of the press conference. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I'm Rolika Roach, and do have a pleasant